Hello, my name is Jupiter Hadley, and today we're doing another version of Jupi Plays All the Games, this time for the NaNoRenO 2016. The NaNoRenO was a visual novel game jam. Basically, developers were challenged to make a visual novel from start to finish. It could be any genre, any style, just had to be a visual novel. I'm playing all of the games entered for about a minute each, 10 per video. You can check out links to the individual games in the description. It'll just be a taste of the game, so you might want to check it out further. If you want to check me out, all my info will also be in the description, so take a look. Thank you very much for liking and commenting. At the end, I'll probably have an article of my favorites. First, we're playing One Night Stand. I have played this game because I wrote an article about it for Alpha Beta Gamer. So I've played it before. Ugh. My head. My stomach. I feel, there we go. I feel like crap. Last night. What happened? Drink. Lots of drink happened. Ah. What's that noise? My phone. Where's my phone? There, probably. Got it. Shh. Mate, what the hell happened to you last night, Gary? I have no idea, but thanks a lot for waking me up. Low battery. Crap, my phone's about to die. Better plug it in before the battery runs out. Nope, can't plug my phone into that. Or that. Ah, my phone charger has to be around here somewhere. Okay. Wait. I don't recognize this bedside table. This isn't my room. My clothes, they're all over the floor. I'm completely naked. Oh. I guess I got lucky last night. This must be her room. I hope this is a room. But who is she? Mate, you totally bailed on everyone last night. You went to get a round of drinks and never came back. What the fuck? All the girls were so pissed off. I can't believe you ditched my date so you could just bail on all of us. Shit, sounds like drunk me was up to no good last night. Hate to let my mates down, but I guess my mind must have been elsewhere. Sorry, I honestly don't know what happened to me last night, but guess what? I pulled. He, that should shut him up. Could she be one of the girls from last night that Gary was talking about? Even if she was, I don't know anything about her. I can't even remember her name. Shit, I really can't remember anything that happened last night. I don't even know where the hell I am right now. Ugh, this hangover isn't helping. Bullshit, one drink and you're off betting women. You're gonna need a better excuse for ditching all your mates than that. Gary doesn't believe me. He sounds pretty pissed off. If Gary's not going to take my word for it, I could take a sneaky picture. That would shut him up. No, you don't take pictures of naked women in your bed. No, I'm not going to stoop to that. Oh shit, my phone's dead anyway. What should I do now? Wake her up. I need answers and I need them now. I just figured you'd need to get out of her house, maybe. What the... Did she just throw the duvet over me? She's gone? Maybe she's a little freaked out about all this. I know I am. Still, I didn't really get a good look at her. Maybe she wants me to leave. So basically, you can have a look around and check out different objects in the room before she comes back. And just kind of get to know her through her stuff. Alright, next. We're playing Heartbaked. My name is... Sure, Ginger's a lovely name. My nickname is Ginge. Yawn. I rubbed my eyes lazily as warm rays of sun tickled my face. I could have sworn I had at least one more hour of sleep. I yawned one more time, stretching. I don't want to get up just yet. It's not like I was lazy, but the sweet thought of indulging myself in sleep's embrace just for a little longer. Groan. I was over the moon when I was given the role of this year's main pastry chef, but actually preparing for it was just... No, Ginger. Pull yourself together. Go, Ginger, go. I slapped my cheeks to wake myself up. I can do this. I can wake up at 3 a.m. for the next 9 days. Hopefully. I dressed up quickly, washed my face, brushed my teeth, and headed downstairs. Ah, my beloved bakery, Ginger's Pastries, the best pastry shop in our humble village. If someone said otherwise, they were lying, especially if that someone is a dwarvish elf. For convenience, it was connected to my house. That way I could bake mouth-watering goods for which people from far and wide come in enormous crowds to acquire whenever I wanted to. That's what I'd like to say, but the title of pastry chef was given me a few months ago by my late grandmother. I'm continuously trying to prove myself and get better. That is why I was blessed with the opportunity to bake a variety of cakes and other sweets for the upcoming pastry festival. Every year, to show our deepest gratitude to the revered pastry god, we hold an event where we show and taste the best pastries from the neighborhood villages. And this year, I would be among the best chefs. Ah, it's so nerve-wracking. Yoo-hoo, Ginger, are you up yet? Oh, it was this time ready. How much time had I wasted standing around? Oi, Ginge, where you at? Stop yelling, Radley. I'm right behind you. Oh, yeah. Hi-ho, Ginger. Hee. Radley was such a moron. It felt like we'd known each other for an eternity. I still remembered when we were running around together causing a mess in Grandma's bakery. And now he's working for me as a delivery boy. He was quick, efficient, and didn't complain about his low wage. The perfect sla worker. Besides, it wasn't like he didn't get a fair deal. He was allowed to use as many pastries as he could. So, who were the lucky fellows to be graced with your bakery goods today, Well, let me see. It seems like the mayor and Carver requested sweets. Carver. I still can't understand why you would agree to bake him anything. I wouldn't even want to be standing in the same room as him, breathing his air. Yuck. Oh, Rads, come on. I just cannot turn down his silent plea to taste the best sweets ever made. The poor little tart has to eat his food baked at 800 degrees and burnt at that. Oh ho ho ho. Ha ha, it must be the reason why he's so tiny. Pfft. I snorted and shook my head. They really do hate each other. So, mind handing me the basket? I'd rather be quick about the deliveries today. Oh sure, let me just... I went to the counter to pick up the delivery basket. As I lifted it, there was a horrific ripping sound, and then all of my carefully prepared pastries fell from the night before, were tumbling to the floor and rolling around helplessly. I stared in horror as the baked goods were completely ruined, frosting smashing against the floor and filling oozing out of donuts. Ha! Radley. He raised his hands defensively, still laughing. Oh man, that was gold. You didn't see it coming at all. Your face. Har har, doofus. We can't give our clients this. Don't look at me like that. Yes, even if one of them is Carver. You're no fun at all. Radley pouted, assuming the poise of an angry child. You want to play so badly, silly pie? Then let's dance. Keeping his fear of filth in mind, I picked up one of the destroyed cupcakes, then I shoved the ruined masterpiece right onto his face. Frosting and crumbs smeared across his jaw, and I snickered. Say hello to germs, mwahaha. And the color disappearing from Radley's... all the color disappearing from Radley's cheeks, really complementing the pink of the frosting. His arms dropped and he started to shudder. No, how could you? He gave a piercing shriek, twisted his face in disgust, while slowly backing away towards the front door. What is it, Sunshine? Where are you going? Ginger, I swear, I'll not forget this. I will come back to get my revenge. After spending at least a century disinfecting myself. Hey. Alright, so we've got no delivery boy and no pastries. And there he went, dashing away. I'll probably see him tomorrow, but who knew how long he would bathe for. I retreated to the kitchen, finally commencing the baking spree. I had to give it my all to honor the pastry god. A flashback of my grandmother, me sitting in front of a warm fireplace, enveloped me. She would tell me the tales of our beloved divinity, how the pastry god's good will enable us elves to live peacefully in his own sacred grounds. I remember nagging her to recreate the tale. Her words were... recreate, I don't know if that was the right word. Recite, I think was what they... recite the tale. Her words were so vivid I could almost smell the sweet scent from when the world was first made, fresh out of the pastry god's oven. And for my dearest lands, abundant in the sweetness of the tastiest virtues, I shall give thee my fellowship to tend to thee. It sounds like a really cute game. I'm a bit concerned that she doesn't care that she's not going to be able to make the pastries for the people today, but I guess that's our problem. Next. We're playing Lads in Distress. I frown in concentration as I carefully tilt the bottle just enough to add a single drop to the pot. There's a loud sizzle and I watch with a satisfied smile as the liquid in the pot turns a cloudy blue. Perfect. I knew it. I'm a genius. A knock on the door cuts my celebration short. I scowl in annoyance at the sudden interruption. You may not come in. The door creaks as they completely ignore my order and enter the room. You wound me, charming. At his voice, I turn around with a smile. I'm greeted by the sight of my best friend, his hands clasped over his chest in a dramatic gesture. I mirror his teasing grin and threaten him playfully. You know, I could have your head off for disobeying my command blatantly like that. I dragged my finger across my throat for emphasis and winked cheekily at him. Nichols' eyes widen comically, and he staggers backwards. Nichols? Yeah. Staggers backwards in exaggerated manner, making me snort at his performance. He abruptly drops the act and flashes me a good-natured grin. You wouldn't. You're too fond of me to have me executed. It's true. Nicol has been my best friend for as long as I can remember. He is a mere 2 months older than me, and we have always been together, even as babies. His father used to be my teacher for magic and potions making, and as a result, he was allowed to live in the palace with his family. Since there weren't many kids in the palace, Nicol and I easily became friends and partners in crime for our many mischievous adventures that always got us in trouble. What potion are you making? Nicol strides forward and peers into the pot. Let me guess, an invisibility potion. It's looking good. Of course, I would expect nothing less from a student of mine. I make a face at him when he scoffs at his own words. Ever since Nicol took over as my tutor after his father retired, he's been making teasing remarks whenever possible about his new elevated status. He conveniently leaves out the fact that I can count the number of lessons he's taught me on one hand because I'm as good as him in magic, despite the fact that he's half fairy and magic is in his blood. Do you have an actual purpose coming here, or did you just come in to laugh at me? Oh, thanks for reminding me. I almost forgot. I'm here with a message from the king and queen. My smile fades and I turn my back on him, fixating my attention on the potion in front of me. I reach for the nearest jar of ingredients and start examining it, pretending to be busy. That can wait. As you see, I'm in the middle of something important. You know full well how disastrous, there we go, the consequences can be to mess up even a single step while making potions. But that won't happen because you're Princess Charming. You don't make novice mistakes like that. I can't help but smile with pride. Of course. The glint of amusement in Nicol's eyes immediately rouses my suspicion. Why are you looking at me like that? The realization that Nicol has tricked me into bellying myself slowly dawns on me. I briefly consider making up another excuse to avoid his conversation, but I decide against it in the end. I can't run away from this forever. I might as well get it over with. Well, you successfully softened me up with some flattery. What does the message say? Nicol holds out a scroll towards me. After a moment of hesitation, I take it from him. What's this? It's a list of all the guests that will be attending the royal ball next week. It still needs your approval. I snort and toss the scroll aside without sparing it a second glance. My approval doesn't even really matter, does it? Charming, I know this is unpleasant and unfair, definitely, I'm glad you know it too. But you know that your parents would never have asked this of you if this could have been avoided. We've tried every alternative, even good. He paused, as though catching himself from saying something he wasn't supposed to. I take a mental note to ask him about this later. The kingdom needs this. We need you. I chew on the inside of my cheek for a moment, struggling internally. Frankly speaking, the idea of getting tied down at such a young age, alright, 18 isn't that young, but still too young for a marriage in my book, terrifies me. There's still so much of the world to be explored. This seems kind of interesting. So she's like the prince and she has to get married, or she's the princess, I guess. But she's in charge, or going to be in charge, so she needs to get married. I bet you she wants to marry this guy, and I really love her hair. It's beautiful. Next. We're playing Love and Romance, a study of intimacy. This is a short story, was made for NaNoRenO 2016 under the direction of MisSHAPEn Love with art by Please note this is not safe for work and for players 18 or older. Awesome, don't worry, I'm over 18. For your comfort, you may toggle Sentry to cover any nudity in the story menu. Blah blah, play it as it is. There's gonna be nudity, probably. Warning. I've always considered myself to be a good writer. I definitely wasn't the best, nor was I anywhere close to being the worst. I was just a good writer. Many of my friends and family wish I had better confidence, but I found myself to be happier when I put my work in a realistic perspective. There was no point in imagining that I was brilliant when I merely wrote what was in my heart. Not everyone liked what I had to say, but many did, so that was good enough for me. I spun tales of romantic fantasy, of worlds and relationships beyond people's imagination, and I handed them the story of people real enough to be your best friend, enemy, or soulmate. That's the job of a writer, after all. Despite this, I felt that I was lacking somewhere. I couldn't figure out what it was, but something about my writing felt fake and doll-like. However, whenever I would ask for advice and critique, no one would give me a straight answer. It wasn't until I marathon read my entire portfolio of books that I finally discovered it. Wow, I suck at sex scenes. I stared at the open book in my lap, flabbergasted at the passage I had read, and I essentially wrote, "How did my editor get away with not pointing it out or fixing it?" She touched his chest and moaned, lost in pleasure. Every time he inserted himself into her, she moaned. That is so redundant. What is wrong with me? In anger, I tossed the book at the far wall. There was no way I was that terrible, yet there it was in my own book. What was even worse was that I had written multiple sex scenes, and that was the newest one. I leaned back against the bedpost behind me, letting out an exasperated sigh. How was it that I could write fantastic romance but crappy sex? I could practically feel the passion and love oozing from every romance scene I came across, but the sex was robotic. Was this a reflection of me? I was single, living with a cat, but I was no virgin, nor was I ignorant about sex. I knew the ins and outs about making love, rough fucking, and everything in between. Then again, I hadn't had sex since college, which was 4 years ago. Oh, for Christ's sakes. Who was I kidding? My love life was as dry as it could be. Because of my work being a full-time writer, I never devoted time to finding a romantic or sexual partner. I couldn't help it, though. I loved my work and placed it first all of the time. Could anyone blame me? My cat, most likely sensing my frustration, hopped onto my bed and nuzzled my side as I rubbed my face and eyes with my palms. I looked down, seeing her stare into my eyes, and let out a small but loving meow. I smiled and gently petted her head, rubbing the bridge of her nose with my thumb. As she purred, I let out a small sigh, feeling my body relax a bit. "Well, baby girl, what do you think I should do?" "Meow." I chuckled and softly lifted my cat into my arms, letting her lay on my chest as I rested my head back against the bedposts. The more I thought about it, the more I began to recognize the loneliness I had in my life. I really did desire to be held, to be loved by another human being. However, my work became my lover, and it was a jealous and clingy lover indeed. I ran my hand over my cat's fur, frowning a bit despite feeling her purr against my chest. What should I do? I let the question resonate in my thoughts for a moment before hearing my cell phone buzz on my nightstand. I stretched my arm out and took hold of my phone, bringing it to my ear and answering the call. "Amelia Waters."
"Hey, it's Lee. You busy?"
I smiled. Lee Yoon-ho was my manager and agent, devoted to making sure my work was published at the highest quality for the price he believed it was worth. I felt a bit spoiled because he often overworked himself, but I had to accept that it was his job to care for me. For some reason, he preferred to use his family name in business, saying it was easier for clients and representational to use Lee instead of Hon Yon-ho. I like his personal name, but I didn't want to fight him about it. "Hey, no, I'm not busy. What's up?"
I wanted to ask you about your next book. Do you have any clues as to what it'll be about?
This little voice bit is really cool. I froze when my cat jumped off my chest and off of the bed. I had almost forgotten. I had to stay on schedule with my book releases, and my deadline for a book concept is coming up very soon. Totally. Well, you see, no, I don't. Are you mad?
Why would I be mad? Writing is hard.
I smiled, happy that he understood. I really was spoiled by him. I like how Lee's voice acted. That's a pretty cool thing. I didn't think it was going to be, and it took me by surprise. This seems like a very interesting game. I wonder if she's going to end up just trying to sleep with a load of people to get sort of that desire, or if she's going to just get a boyfriend and that'll fix things. Who knows? Next. We're playing Her Tears Were My Light. Darkness, darkness and nothing, in all directions. At some point I started thinking, shouldn't there be something here? Something anywhere? So I started looking. I don't know what exactly I was looking for, but as I wandered I spotted a light in the distance. I love this graphic style, it's very cute. As I approached I found another, and another. A trail of burning bright lights, they traveled out and away, their steady glow piercing tiny holes in the darkness. They fascinated me. I decided I'd walk until I reached the source. Aww. I found a girl. She was sitting on a bed of those stars. It was a beautiful sight. Alright. Oh, someone's here. Sniffle. What should I say to her? Are you crying? Excuse me, but have you been crying? I felt so lonely. I sniffle. I just can't seem to stop. But now someone's here. I didn't think someone would come, but you're here. Wow, I'm so happy. If you're happy, then stop crying. Honestly, Space. Huh? How'd you know my name? I don't know, it just slipped out. How did I know her name? She never told it to me, but something about her feels so familiar, like an old friend. This isn't fair. I don't even get to introduce myself. Sniffle. Now I have to ask for your name. It's time. 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 Time, 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 time. Time. What are you doing? Saying it 8 times will help me remember. 8 on its side is infinity. 8 on its side is infinity. And that's how I'll never forget. I see. So, time. Where did you come from? The start. If I had to give it a name, I'd call it the start. The start. Yes. It would make sense to begin at the start. Does that make where we are now the middle? But you started here, didn't you? I don't know if we can call it the middle. We can. This place has changed. Has it? Yes, you're here with me now, Time. So before was the start and now is the middle. It made sense in its own way. This girl is very straightforward. So if there's a beginning, is there an end? Who knows? I don't know, I haven't seen it yet. There probably is one. What if the end is sad? The start was lonely, will the end be lonely too? I don't want that. What? You cry a lot, don't you? Yes, because look, whenever I do, these stars come out. I'd already noticed, but maybe it'd be rude to point that out. I can't really explain it, but somehow they make me feel a little less lonely. So from the start, you've just been here making stars? Yes, you see, where there is nothing, I want to put something. Does that make sense? I guess it does. What kinds of things do you do, Time? Move the universe. I can make the universe move forwards, backwards. I can jump to any moment I've already experienced. Wow, that sounds like hard work. Making stars sounds harder to me. No, that's easy. Watch. Wow. I didn't mean to make you cry again. Actually, this is a good chance to demonstrate. Huh? Alright. I've remembered the outcome. Now I'll rewind it to when I said making stars sounds harder, and then I can try to stop you from crying. I need to rewind. I have a button for this. It's at the bottom of the screen. If I can't make use of the rewind button, I'll end up going into circles. And if I get stuck, I can always reset. For now, I need to rewind. Alright, so we can rewind the chat. Making stars sounds hard to me. Hey, don't start crying just to prove how easy it is, okay? Huh, how'd you know I was about to do... That's my power. You've already cried before, so I went back to the moment before you did in order to stop you. Well, you're incredible, Time. That's really neat. Not only are these 2 characters adorable, but we have like a superpower in a text-based game. And that's quite cool. Quite a good use of like fast-forwarding and rewinding. Next. We're playing Magically Otoge and Anholly. Yep, definitely said that right. Alright, so is game 1.5 in the Magical Otoge series. Magical Otoge CL was the first game in the series, but is unrelated to this game. Though it's probably the best one to start with, so you might want to play that one first. The choices in the game are just for fun and won't affect the single ending, but might change what characters say in the future. Enjoy the game. This story takes place in a town called Solvalis. In this town, the only resident was a cheerful girl named Anholly. Looks like no one comes around. Everything's the same as yesterday. Alright, now I just have to recharge the lamps. So there's seriously only one person in this whole town. It's a bit lonely. You stood in front of the local generator and focused. And you used magic to send electricity going through all of Solvalis's lamps. There we go. All good. I think that's all for today then. I want to hurry up and get back home. I feel more tired than usual today, and it's so cold, especially because of the snow, too. You begin hurrying back to your house. But was I the one who made it snow? I don't think I've ever passively made it snow before. Oh well, it's fine, but either way, I'm gonna have a great time shoveling the entire town's snow once it stops. I guess I could use my powers to clear the snow, but it'd be bad if someone saw. I guess I'll have to do it the manual way. Sigh. Wait, no. Gotta stop complaining. Think positive. Wait, I know. Shoveling snow is hard work, but I'll have super strong arms by the end. And then I'll have the ultimate strength to carry all the puppies in the world. Yeah. And just then... Arf, arf. Oh, speak of the devil. If only this worked every time, huh? Arf. You pet that small white dog. I hadn't seen you in a while. How have you been, HD? Arf, arf. Haha, right you are. Okay, so I can't understand you. I'm just playing along, alright? You don't have to judge me like that. Arf. So are you hungry or anything? Arf? Don't worry, I'll make you something. Arf. What? Oh, my cooking isn't that bad. You're just too much of a gourmet, right? Arf, arf. HD ran off happily. Oh, you're leaving already? See you later, HD. Good luck on your adventure. He's such a weird dog. I'm pretty sure he's traveling the world. I remember when we first met and I rhetorically asked for his name. And then he scratched HD into the ground and kept pointing to it. Apparently it stands for hot dog, but I'm not going to call him that. Ha, I wouldn't be surprised if he transforms into a person or something. But as if that would happen. Soon after getting back to your house. Sigh. Lots of free time and no one to talk to. You'd think I'd get used to it by now. Oh, I mean, now that I think about it, I still haven't thought of any jokes to tell Rovi the next time he visits. Well, I'll think of something. Soon after. A joke. Knock, knock. Huh. Well, I've got it. I can't wait to tell Rovi this one. Hee, knock, knock. A knock came from the front door. Gah! Kind of creepy. I wonder who it is. You open the door to find Rovi. Geez, Anholly, who are you calling creepy? Ah, Rovi, you're back already? Yeah, you're doing well? I'm the same as always, but why are you here, Rovi? I thought you were going to come only every week or so. That was the plan, but I couldn't help but want to check on you. The last time you ran out of food, you waited until I came back instead of contacting me. Ah, yeah. Really, you didn't lose your communication pendant, didn't you? Of course not, I always keep it on me. Then use it next time. Ah, yes, sir. Good. You had better call me if anything happens, alright? Anyway, here are some more things for this week. Rovi gives you a parcel of supplies. Thanks again, Rovi, but really, I didn't call you that time because, here we go. Or I just shared with some travelers and you were going to come the next day anyway. Sigh. Still, Anholly, I'm your friend. You can rely on me. Yeah, and a childhood friend at that. Well, that's right, but why are you saying this all of a sudden? Oh, I don't know. I just feel like I had to establish that to anyone who might not know. Ah, right. But anyway, do you think of another really good joke for me? You always have one ready for me when I visit, but I'm early this time. But I'm pretty sure you have a buffer of bad jokes to tell me anyway. Oh yeah, you know it. Not that I'm admitting that my jokes are bad or anything though. But anyway, I have a really good knock-knock joke, but you have to start it out. Okay, knock-knock. Who's there? I don't know, Anholly. I'm leaving. He already left. Ah. That was kind of funny. It's a bit weird that like she lives alone in this town and that people bring her supplies. Is there something wrong with her? Has she been condemned because she has some magic and that's why she doesn't want people to see? Who knows? Next. We're playing MisSHAPEn Love. I'm bored. She looks like a comic book character. Here I am sitting in class on an otherwise lovely spring morning, listening as the professor's assistant attempts to explain how to calculate the derivatives of something. The guy seems to think that finding derivatives is a high art form. Unfortunately for him, everyone else just seems highly uninterested. Even the professor hasn't been in class for a week, claiming to be sick at home. Honestly, I think he just gave up on us. But I have to admire the assistant for his dedication. Despite everyone looking as bored as possible, the guy is actually trying to teach us calculus. As for me, I can barely keep myself upright in my seat. My head feels extraordinarily heavy today, as do my eyelids. Sorry. I never know how to properly begin a story. I think it is the hardest part about telling a story because first impressions are so important. If I can manage to sound somewhat sensible, you'll just close the game and play something else. Oops, I'm technically not allowed to break the fourth wall, but if you enjoy well-written visual novels with beautiful, thought-provoking plot, the game is probably not for you. In any case, I guess I should just do the most cliche thing and introduce myself. My name is Maya MisSHAPEn. I'm a freshman, a first year in college, and I'm planning to study art design. Honestly, I thought that being in art school meant that I wouldn't have to take any math-related classes. I thought that I was done with math forever. Obviously, I was wrong. I also hate math, and it's really cool that you know the first impressions are like a big deal because they really are. Not a lot of developers realize that. Thanks to the art school's general education requirements, I'm now stuck in a calculus class alongside 30 other students who don't want to be here. By now, I think everyone except for the professor's assistant has realized what a joke this class is. I'd say I feel kind of bad for the guy, but honestly, I just don't care about calculus at all. I should mention that I care for puns even less than I care for calculus. Unfortunately, math is a subject in which terrible puns are common. I am bored out of my mind. Somewhere near the front of the room, a self-proclaiming English major is arguing with another student about the wording of a proof. I had questioned how the topic transitioned from derivatives to geometry proofs, but I honestly don't care. I find my mind wandering to the piece of graph paper on my desk. I'm an art student, so obviously the best course of action is to doodle. For no particular reason, I draw a circle. I don't even think it qualifies as a doodle, it's just a circle. Still, the simple act of drawing a circle felt unexpectedly refreshing. Why didn't I think of this earlier? I stare at the circle and it stares back soullessly. Of course it's soulless, it's completely empty on the inside. When I was young and terrible at drawing, I liked to doodle geometric shapes on everything. I liked to draw using crayons because crayons are easy to color with, and I thought the shapes looked boring without the color. In honor of my memory, I'd take out my colored pencil and color in the circle. When I was young and terrible at storytelling, I also liked to pretend that my doodles, my terrible geometric shapes, were characters. I'd like to give them distinct personalities and names, creative names like circle and triangle, of course, but names nevertheless. Obviously, I'm still terrible at telling stories, so I will name this circle Circle. Circle looks awfully lonely, so I decided to draw out some friends. I named the triangle Triangle and the square Square, and the three colors don't seem especially friendly to one another. Actually, they seem to clash. I find my mind wandering to even more bizarre directions. Oh, this looks cool. You're a sharp triangle, but you're not right. Neither are you. Your argument is completely pointless. I'll be square with you. Come on, sweetheart. You only made 3 points, they're not even good. Wow, here's star. I decided to draw a purple star on my terrible comic to represent me. There's an awkward silence. I take in my surroundings and notice that the landscape is graph paper as far as the eye can see. Not that geometric shapes have eyes, obviously. It was a figure of speech. I took back my new companions, who, as far as I can tell, are staring at me with intense curiosity. I make my best attempt to stare back with equal intensity. Are you admiring my red-hot bod, sweetheart? I notice that circle has a feminine voice for some reason. I'm not at all surprised. Both triangle and square have masculine voices, although triangle's voice is noticeably softer. Are you flirting with her? Sure am. I didn't know that you rolled that way. I'm a circle, sweetheart. I can roll any way. I'm not at all straight. No straight edges, see? I attempt to read triangle and square's emotions, but that is impossible as they show neither facial expressions nor body language. And I try to have no reaction to the puns. This seems like a really neat idea. All of a sudden we're a bunch of shapes full of puns who are talking to each other on graph paper. That was quite unexpected. And I'm guessing it's some kind of love story by the title, so we must fall in love with one of these characters. Interesting. Next. We're playing Equilibrium. 200 years ago, the last war divided the people of Melchior and the Old World. Their dying planet was decimated by a final devastating standoff between the ethereal and obsidian peoples. In their desperation to live on, splintered groups of these two sects divided to aid each other in the last days and created a spaceship, an ark, to save the remainder of their people. They named it Zion in hopes for a future planet where they could begin anew. And so the small group of creators and their families launched into space and into the unknown as they watched the place they called home fall apart before their eyes. As time went on, it was agreed that, for the sake of peace, the two sects would remain segregated as not to cause unnecessary conflict, lest they repeat the tragedy of the old world. Councils were created to govern over their respective communities and to resolve any issues peacefully between one another, as survival was prioritized over any other issues. Despite initial disagreements between the two, they inevitably always advanced to the system. It was done for the greater good of all people, after all. Until a new home could be found, this would be the way it would remain. Us, we're all stuck in a ship. Happy birthday, Elder. Happy birthday, Mana. It's an important age for both of us, isn't it? 120 is not all that impressive. It's 112. I think it's 112. It's 112 years older than I am. It's definitely an impressive milestone. At my age, it's just another number higher than the last. You, however, have reached an age where you are ready to contribute to the society that raised you. You raised me, and taught me. As the representative of that society, it's all-inclusive. Of course it is. Drink your tea. Yes, ma'am. I take 2 small sips of the soothing honey tea before me and swallow down the anxious feelings inside my chest. I made you something to commemorate the day. That's not necessary. Well, it's already done, so just accept it, okay? I set a palm-sized metal tablet in her hand. It's a simple thing with a small section of engraved writing on it. Mana. It's just a little note of appreciation I wrote for you. Not very practical, but I wanted to try and make something original. If you don't like it, I don't want to throw away anything you make for me. She likes it. I suppose you're antsy for your gift. Yes. No modesty. What sort of young woman have I raised? One you've graciously raised after for an absolutely wonderful amount of time since she was a toddler? Watch it. She brings out a weathered box I remember seeing once before. I'd been very young at the time, and she'd forbidden me from ever touching it. I had, in my insatiable curiosity, tried to pry it open later that day with no avail. That's your super secret important box, isn't it? The one you were not meant to touch under any circumstances? Can you really blame me? It was calling my name, asking so very sweetly, Mana, please open me. You really enjoy what's inside. Does your overflowing well of curiosity know no bounds? Nope. Incorrigible. She carefully types in the passcode on the top of the box and it opens with a soft hiss. Hold out your hand. I do so and stare in wonder at what she gently places in my hand. It's beautiful. What is it? One of the last remaining mementos from the old world, a preserved leaf from my ancestors' garden. It's become a tradition to pass it down so that we may remember our past and learn from our mistakes, hopefully to not repeat them in the future. I'm not sure how to feel about taking this. It's something your family has treasured for so long. Do you really want me to have this? There is no one else I trust more than you to carry on this tradition. I'm certain that you can carry the responsibility of this. Isn't that the way I raised you? I ponder over this for a moment. It's the most precious thing she's ever given to me, other than her time and commitment to my well-being. I don't feel worthy of it, but I'll honor her wishes. Thank you so much. I'll do my best to take care of it. Good. Now off with you. Your first day of work begins soon. It's always better to arrive too early than too late. Yes, ma'am. I fidget nervously with the hem of my shirt, waiting in the corner of a laboratory that will soon become a familiar workplace I will attend for the rest of my life. According to the results from my career assessment, the most prominent occupation that came up was to become a member of the research department. I suspect that my inquisitive nature contributed to that fact, but in the end I was more than happy to apply for a position. The head researcher had informed me that I would be sharing this particular lab with another young researcher who was remarkably intelligent and an invaluable asset to the department. I was expected to reserve all prejudice about him and to keep to my own work, being explicitly told that he prefers solitude in his studies, but since there is very little room on this ship as it is, compromises had to be made for the benefit of the society. A small boy scurries into the room, his head down and gaze transfixed on the data pad before him. I quickly step out of his way and he jolts at my movement. Ah. His voice is soft and monotonous, but his stiff posture betrays his surprise. I decided cautiousness would be best around him. Hello, are you Ever? Yes. My name is Mana. I'll be working here with you from now on. Is that alright with you? Yes. So where would it be alright for me to work? He shrugs, looking everywhere except at me. I'm probably making him uncomfortable. I know I had trouble getting along with other children when I was younger, and I'm more than positive that hasn't changed to this day. This seems quite interesting. So they're stuck on a ship where they have to live forever just doing work for the good of society. It's almost like a utopia. Well, I would hope it was like a utopia. I'm not sure about this character though. I'm not sure about her personality quite yet and if she's like me or not. But I find it funny that she's going to be working with a child. I wonder how that's going to pan out. And I wonder if she's going to be able to keep the necklace from breaking or if something bad's going to happen to that. Next. We're playing Reflections of the River. Once upon a time in a faraway kingdom, there lived a king and a queen. The kingdom was small and modest, but the king and queen loved each other and their country very much. There was only one thing missing from their humble yet happy lives. Despite their most desperate wishes, the heavens never deemed one to be theirs. The king and queen eventually took in a young prince from a nearby land and cared for him as though he was their own. Years went by, but the queen never gave up the hope of providing the kingdom with a heir of their own. Distraught at losing yet another child, she fell into a deep sadness. Neither the king nor the prince could bring a smile back to her face. Against his better judgment, the king soon sought the help of a wandering witch who had settled in their capital city. The king returned to his beloved queen with the witch at his side. The witch promised them their greatest desire, a child born in good health, with little more than a simple wave of the hand. True to those words, the king and queen welcomed a princess to the kingdom a year later. Though the subject of the kingdom rarely caught a glimpse of the elusive princess, all said that she was a good omen. With her birth came plentiful crops, booming trade, and an influx of travelers. The kingdom grew prosperous, and their castle was an envy to all the neighboring lands, a sparkling gem afloat on top of rivers. However, the good fortune of the kingdom did not only incite envy in the neighboring lands, but in a certain witch. The witch felt betrayed for not receiving more fame or fortune for helping the king and queen. The witch appeared on the doorstep of the palace 3 times, and each time demanded the most precious jewel in the royal treasury. The king and queen turned the witch away each time, and after the 3rd time, the witch disappeared for many years. At last, the kingdom knew peace. The king and queen thought that they had heard the last from the selfish witch until one day. I shoved a guard out of my way roughly. I demand an audience with the king and queen. You would do well to learn how to speak to your betters. I don't see any of them here. His hand reached for his blade, but still I continued to march forward, walking past him. My hand was primed to throw a spell his way, should he even dare attempt to. I will teach you your place, peasant. Shall I teach you not to mess with a witch? He had just begun unshielding his sword when, hold! The guard froze in his tracks. I looked up at the voice of this greater rescuer. You may step forward. Really? Not going to call the guards on me? What's he playing at? I cautiously made my way towards the throne. The king and queen both surveyed me with cold eyes as I approached, and I tried my best to maintain a defiant expression on my face. One kneels in the presence of royalty, scum. That will not be necessary. Please state your business so that we can be done here. You know what I'm after. Give me the jewel. I'm afraid your greed has gotten the best of you, my good witch. I gritted my teeth. The nobles and servants alike eyed me with disdain. I spat on the ground before the king, and the guards immediately leapt towards me. The king, however, waved them away with his hand lazily. You once lent me your aid, and I am grateful for it. I would present you with almost any boon you could ask for, but our kingdom's most prized possession, you asked for too much. I beg of you, my friend, please reconsider. That jewel is mine. I'm afraid not. Well, if you will not change your mind, I'm truly sorry, but I must turn you away. Guards? There were more this time, a neat row marching their way into the throne room. They were almost upon me, and I had to think fast. Wait. I think I do see something I shall take instead of my jewel. I saw a glimmer in the king's eye. Pray tell, my old friend, what is it that catches your interest? In exchange for my services, I took a step to the side, putting a little distance between me and the guards. Oh gods, I'd better be able to pull this one off, else. In exchange for my services, and in lieu of my jewel, I could only stall for so long. I quickly looked at my surroundings. Well, here goes nothing, I guess. I will take your child. I punctuated this statement with a small explosion from my hands, distracting the onlookers and filling the room with smoke. The smoke screen I brought up as a barrier wouldn't last, so I had to take the precious few moments to grab my bargaining chip. With little time to spare, I looked over to the first row that caught my eye. I'm going to pick the princess because she's younger. I placed my hands on the princess's wrist. Sorry, Your Highness, but I'll have to borrow your presence for just a little while. You know how it is, kidnapping, extortion, all in a day's work for me. Well, let's go. I turned to run to the closest doors, but a hand had landed on my shoulder. Oh, right, the prince. I forgot about him. Look, little boy, I don't have time to trifle with you. Leave me be, lest I curse you. I will go with you. What? No, you can't. What is he up to? No, I better not risk it. It's probably some trick to stall for time. I continued struggling against the prince, pulling the princess along. My smokescreen wouldn't last much longer. I'm warning you. The prince pried my hand off the princess's wrist and pulled me along by mine instead, running towards the exit. Well, if you're gonna make yourself useful, all right then. Wait, no, I'm the one that vile witch wants, not you. Sorry, it makes really no difference to me. A noble's a noble, right? I picked up my pace, and soon I was back in the lead, dragging him behind me. Several guards already started after us, and I dispatched them easily with a flick of my hand. I had little time to turn around to check, but I trusted in the telltale sound of bodies colliding with the floor. We burst out of the building at full speed, and the guards would catch up to us soon, but at least the prince seemed cooperative. I probably should have planned this out a bit better. I'm nearly at my limit. With another swift movement of my hand, I brought up another smoke screen outside the palace doors. It was nothing fancy, just the same trick I pulled earlier. I was no court magician looking to impress the nobles. The smoke would do its job in delaying the mob, and that was all I could ask for. Pick up the pace, will you, and try not to breathe in any of that. The prince seemed interested in the smoke I had conjured. I guess it didn't take much to impress this particular noble. I tugged at his sleeve impatiently. I know my handiwork is some exciting stuff, but come on. We've been running for a while. I'm pretty sure we've lost the guards. They shouldn't be too familiar with this part of town anyway. It seemed as though the prince had come to the same conclusion as me, as he had slowed down now, or maybe he just got tired. The two of us walked at a comfortable pace in silence for a good while before we reached the door of my home. This is it. He eyed the outside of my house slowly, and then the expression on his face was hard to read. But I couldn't imagine his impression of my lodgings being particularly positive. I lived in one of the poorer areas of Jingqing, and it was easy to tell. On our way here, the fancy buildings and paved riverside walkways in the city center had slowly been replaced by rickety slit houses and rotting wood panels. This seems really interesting because I didn't think I was going to be the bad guy. I thought I was going to end up being the princess that was born and she was going to take over the throne someday, and there was probably going to be some weird drama between her and the prince who felt that it was his but really it was mine because I'm the true daughter. But no, I'm like the evil witch who just wants to be paid for doing her job. And I think this prince wants to become a witch, and maybe I'll end up training him or something. Next. We're playing Redacted Life. I first realized that I was a character in a video game about 3 weeks ago. At first I noticed little things, glitches, things blinking in and out of existence. Then I tried to remember things like how I met my girlfriend, Rebecca, where I was born, or either of my parents' names. I couldn't remember. I could only remember as far back as a month ago. It was a hard 3 weeks. The worst part was that when I tried to explain this all to Rebecca, it was like she wouldn't listen to me, like she couldn't hear me. I guess the game's programming can only stretch so far. Eventually, I decided to just let things happen and see how things would unfold. I mean, after all, despite how existential crisis-inducing finding out your life's a game was, my life was a pretty good life. Might as well enjoy it, right? Then Rebecca, decided we should move out. Find an affordable home to rent. It was too large a place to own, but all by ourselves. We packed our things from our city apartment and drove to the countryside. We're here. We stepped out of a car. There it is, Adrian. The house is over there, at the end of the road. I looked at the mansion in the distance. Come on, Shishka. I opened the back door of the car to let Shishka out. Shishka was our dog, by the way. However, as soon as she got out of the car, Shishka started growling. Well, that's a bad sign. Rebecca turned to Shishka. Aw, what's the matter, girl? I held my tongue, but still, this can't be good. What could spook her like this? Never mind, let's go inside. How could we afford a manor? I don't know. I looked around. I could see from here that there was a study that led to a massive grand ballroom. It was the kind of grand ballroom that I could imagine also doubling as a final boss arena. Very unusual furniture. I stared at a weird painting of what I interpreted as 2 horses. Oh, that one, I guess. The frame it was in looked like it had 4 sets of claws trying to rip the artwork open. Very unusual. I prefer to call it rustic charm. I love how old-timey this place looks. What? Scared? No. Well, I don't think something's just going to jump out and shout, "A boogie woogie boo," but I still feel a huge amount of unease. Don't worry, I'll protect you from anything in this household. Oh, she's glitching. Rebecca started glitching out again. It happened from time to time. It was the first thing that made me realize I was in a game. It used to freak me out, but now the novelty's worn off, or the shock's worn off, whatever you want to call it. It seemed like me acting out of character causes this. It's like Rebecca can't figure out how to react to me. Adrian, or to Adrian, I snapped out of it. Oh, yeah, Rebecca? I said I'll protect you. Sure. Now I know what you may be thinking. If we were moving into this house, why were we acting like we never set foot in this house before? Apparently, this is a world where you pay an estate agent a lot of money and just hope for the best. That's how we got our house. We literally looked at pictures while we were in America, paid for it, and then came here in England and just moved straight into it without actually having ever checked it out. And, it's a lot smaller than we thought it was. That's the only downside, though. Oh, and there was, like, a couple of leaks and a couple of little things we probably would have noticed if we'd looked at the house, but, that's fine. You just cross your fingers and wish really hard, and they magically find a beautiful house you can afford to lodge in. We're leaving this crazy house. A young couple came lumbering down the stairs. They were each carrying a suitcase. I've had it. I can stand for a lot of things, but not this. With that, the couple left. My. A person whose gender was unclear to me approached us. They were wrapped up in several layers of winter clothing, despite the fact that it wasn't winter. Terrell. Yep. It seems another family has left us with another to replace them. It's like a revolving door around here. Hello, my name's Terrell. How are you? Their voice was also ambiguous, and not just in terms of gender. The voice sounded young and ancient, childish yet wise all at the same time. I'm Rebecca, and this is Adrian. Why were these people leaving? They're scared of the spirit who dwells in this household. It's a terrible story, one fraught with tragedy. Would you like to hear it? I told him that no, we wouldn't, and Terrell began. The sweater-layered character told Rebecca and me pretty full and complete information about the mansion. They told us about how the structure was originally commissioned in the 1800s and about the original owners of the mansion. Mauro and Clara were a couple who'd recently married before moving into their new home. Mauro first met Clara when she became his assistant for a magic act. This eventually led to them falling in love with each other. Mauro, the magician, as he was called, was an illusionist. He was also rumored to have dabbled in 2 dubious things, adultery and the dark arts. Though neither was ever proven publicly, he was apparently successful enough as a magician to afford the mansion and continued performing with Clara for many years because there's always an until with these stories, for some reason my mind kept wandering, but I did my best to stay focused to Terrell's cliche story. That really was an awful picture frame. So what happened to the magician and his wife? They disappeared. I sighed. No one seemed to notice. Really? The magician disappeared? How ironic. Very cute. They completely vanished. Snark. Vanished. That sounds like a great magical act. Now let's do, were they ever found? Eventually, Mauro was found dead in the basement of this very mansion. His body was covered with long, deep lash marks, like he'd been scratched to pieces by some sort of long-fingered animal. But his wife was never found. I think Clara knew that her husband had been cheating on her, and maybe when she found out, she confronted him with it. Maybe Mauro kept a book filled with black magic, and that had something to do with it. But I think something very dark happened the night they disappeared, and I believe that Clara's ghost still haunts this place to this day. It would explain all the strange things in this place, eerie noises, furniture rearranging itself after you leave the room. And then Terrell suddenly stopped their history lecture. Do you believe in ghosts? I think Terrell's doing it. That would mix up the story, and it seems like the author keeps pointing out how cliche everything is, so I think he's setting it up to make his life more interesting, or something. I feel like he has to do with it. I don't know. Next.